coming up in a minute. Let me share this on my feed. All right, so hi everybody. It's the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Storm Team Meteorologist Noah Bergren, Laurel Blanchard here. We're going to go through everything you need to know about Milton. We'll go through everything possible you could ever need, want to know, and would really appreciate it if you click the share button on our live stream here. When you do so, go ahead and click this button right here. Hello everybody. Go ahead and click, if you're on our Facebook or YouTube channel, we're going to see your comments. You also might be on our Fox Local platform. So if you're on our Fox Local app, that's the app for your smart TV. Hello, welcome. But if you're on our YouTube audience, keep your comments coming. And if you're on our Facebook audience, please go ahead and click the share button right here. Share it to your friends and family, your followers, and then ask us some questions, and we will get everything you need to know. All right, so here's the outline for this live stream. So here's what we're going to go over now through 7:30 in this order. The latest radar, latest satellite, latest Hurricane Center cone, why this will do what it will, some more of the meteorology behind it. We'll hit the spaghetti models, then we'll hit up the Euro, the GFS, the Fox model, go through some scenarios. I'll look at some of your questions as we go through these things, but I'll really wait till we get to the second to the last here, and then I'll just do a question-only thing. We'll also bring in meteorologist Laurel Blanchard to give some extra perspective as well, and then I'll also give you some historical context about this storm. Hello from Bradenton, Julie. Port St. Lucie, hi. Hi, Michael. Hi, Michael Phil, what's up? Hi, Ross Glabus. Hi, Nashville. Philip, family here. Hi, Marie Edinger watching. Hello. Hello, Dempsey. Hello, Sandy. Hello, Dalton. Hello, Karen. What's the outlook for Clearwater? So keep your questions coming. Keep hitting the share button. We're going to get to all of your questions. I will take a few minutes and solely go question to question to question in a few minutes. But for right now, we're going to go in this order. So satellite, radar, cone, meteorology, models, scenarios, questions, historical perspective. So thank you everybody for watching. Let's get into it. So out there tonight, we've got some rain. A lot of steady rain out there. Our radar is going to be busy in the days to come. We've got a lot more rain to the south here, from Tampa down to Fort Myers, Boca Raton, down towards Miami and the Keys. This is not directly related to the hurricane. There's a little area of low pressure over here that's going to skirt across the state tomorrow. And when it's off the East Coast, actually, there's a small chance it could become a tropical depression or a storm in the Bahamas tomorrow into Tuesday. That will be moving away from us, but you might not have heard about that. There's a little low right here that's going to track across South Florida and then may become a depression or something as we go into Tuesday. But just some rain tonight, some rain and showers on and off tomorrow, some rain and showers on and off on Tuesday. So one thing regarding the rain I want to bring to your attention is we have no more areas of the peninsula under drought. We had drought earlier in the year. If you remember, we had wildfires and brush fires we were covering here in Orange and Osceola County. We had them on our news coverage. Remember, it burnt the fence and some other things. That's all been wiped away. There's no more drought. And in fact, it's been a very wet spell. This is the rain as a percent of normal in the last 30 days. And notice all the green, that's where the rain is well above average. This is the percent of average. So 2.3 times the average, so more than double, nearly double here by coastal Volusia, Flagler County, more than double the amount of rain, what's normal for the last 30 days. Why am I showing you this? Well, the ground is saturated. We've got a couple of drought or soil moisture and whatever you call them outlooks that tell us how saturated the ground is. The ground is very saturated, and that may make us a little more susceptible to some wind damage because of how saturated the ground is. So here's the latest satellite. That area of low pressure, that secondary low, is right about right here. That's going to scoot across the peninsula tomorrow. Then it will merge in the Gulf Stream and may become a storm or a depression. So if you hear about that, that's what that is, but that's going to get out of the way. There's your hurricane, 85 sustained, east wind east movement at 7, pressure is still about 980 millibars. So very rare. This is going to track due east, become a category 4, possibly a 5, then it will turn to the northeast, and it's when that turn starts and how much it turns and then loops back. That's going to be the million-dollar question in terms of the impacts. The sun is setting. Here's the very high-resolution satellite imagery. Hello, Mineola, Michael. Hello, Jax. Hello, Waldo, Florida Todd. I see all of your comments. Please keep them coming if you just joined. I will get more specifically to all of your comments coming up in a few minutes. But let me get this cart in here so I can draw and show you a couple of things. So here's the visible satellite. Notice it's getting darker because it's about to set. But I want you to notice here as I zoom this in, I'll go back and forth. You can see these what we call vertical hot towers. In English, this just tells you big thunderstorms forming, indicating that this is rapidly strengthening. And where are those VHTs or vertical hot towers, if you will? You see them right here. See how they're popping out right there, right there, right there, right here, right here. Let me loop this again and notice. See all those? As I go this back and forth. These are all indicating very intense thunderstorms going around the center. There's no eye in here yet. This is actually a smidgen of maybe some dry air right on the eastern side. But I expect tomorrow when you wake up, or maybe by lunchtime tomorrow, when you're watching Brooks and Jess, you'll probably start to see an eye form. It'll probably form overnight on the visible satellite. Obviously you won't see it because the sun's down. But when the sun comes up tomorrow, we may have an eye in here. There's not an eye in there quite yet. So that's a little bit under the hood of Milton. Couple of things with the infrared satellite. This is a colorization. It tells you the temperature of the cloud top, so how intense the thunderstorms are. And you can see all that white and purple, very intense thunderstorms here, rotating around the center, but still no eye yet. And you can notice how you can see it trying to wrap that big convection around the center, and this will continue to move due east tonight and tomorrow. Here's the latest cone. So by 2 in the morning, potentially category 2. By 2 in the afternoon tomorrow, approaching mid-range category 3. So this is a very rapid rate of intensification. Now the million-dollar question is, when does this turn start? When does the turn start? Some of the guidance gets this very close to northern Mexico, like puts the center right where my finger is. Some of the guidance starts the turning tomorrow. So tomorrow, even though we're still a few days away, will be very crucial because if we start to see the eye develop and come out and track north of the center line, that has big implications for where it landfalls eventually. So it'll be very telling tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow, is it tracking closer to Mexico? Is it staying due east, or is it already starting northeast? So the heading tomorrow, very important. By 2 o'clock Tuesday, category 4, 145 sustained, gust to 175. By 2 a.m. Wednesday, 140 wind, 165 gust. Now notice it goes from 4 to 3. I don't want you to look at that and go, oh, it's going to get better. It's not bad. That's not the takeaway. There's been plenty of hurricanes like this that have hit the U.S. that were a 4 or a 5. It's not impossible this still reaches category 5 status on Tuesday, which would be sustained winds over 155 miles an hour. This is going to go from a 4 to a 3 or a 5 to 4 to 3 if it reaches 5. Don't think that just because it's doing that, oh, we're good. That's not the takeaway, because most of the times this happens, but not all the time, where when it goes down in category like this, and specifically in this manner, because it's interacting with the jet stream, the winds expand out more from the center, the eye gets bigger, so the net impact to more people, it becomes larger. So it's misleading. I don't want you to see that and go, if you get what I'm saying. How bad, Rebecca? Hi, Dana. Geneva, Disney, Bill, I see all of your comments. I will get to them in a second. Please keep your comments coming. I will get to them in a second. So as of the Hurricane Center, we've got a landfall Wednesday evening. I think that may still shift a little later. We'll see. But again, the cone tells you where the center may go. Not everybody in the cone seeing category 3 or whatever status. The cone indicates where the center may go. So still, we've got a large variance here of where the center may go. This line is the current estimated path of the eye, which goes from Bradenton to Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch area, Lakewood Ranch being right by the O there in Bradenton, in Fruitville. So passing right over about Lakewood Ranch, Florida, then through just north of Lake Wales, which is about in here, and then through Osceola County, then over about through northern Brevard, and over actually the Kennedy Space Center. So that's the current thinking of the center, but again, it could go as far north as Gainesville. It could go as far south as Fort Myers. So we saw this with Ian, big shifts. To be honest, I don't see as drastic as a shift with this like we had with Ian. If you're sitting there wondering, can this do a miraculous, huge drop south. Some drop south or north, yes, from this current thinking, but the steering up in the atmosphere, up in the eastern United States, is going to pull this north inevitably. So hooking a hard right turn and going to Miami or something, that's pretty unlikely. Eventually, this is going to gain latitude and go north. So the wind scale, remember, Category 4, the hurricane scale only tells you the sustained winds. Nothing about the rain, nothing about the surge. Scale just tells you the sustained winds, and you can see the categories there. Category 5 is 157 plus, 130 to 156 is Category 4, which is the expectation, at least as of right now. You might think Helene may have weakened the water temperatures. It has not. They are lower, but they're still at record highs overall for the Gulf. But something else to know is this loop here I've drawn. That's called the loop current. So that's the very hot water that starts in the Caribbean. This is always here. It comes up, does a loop, hence the name loop current. This is very hot ocean water. This is like, where the river of water is going. Comes up, does a loop, goes south of the Keys, then off the East Coast. That's the Gulf Stream that it becomes. And this will cross right over that Tuesday night. That's the hottest water in the Gulf. So it'll be interesting to see, is between this point and this point, probably more so about here, maximum intensity. And if it's going to reach Category 5, it would probably be between here and here. After about this point, some wind shear will come in and it should start to weaken and decay. But again, that's very misleading. I don't want you to hear that and think that it's going to go poof and go away. That's not the takeaway from the category changing. Quickly, because I don't want to take too much of the time in the meteorology, as much as I would show you all day every meteorological map here. One reason why this storm is unique, and by the way, you might be thinking, what happened to that cold front we were talking about last week? Well, here is that cold front. It's to the north. Let me speed this along here. Make a little arrow here, okay? That cold front's right here. It's not as far south as it looked like it was going to be. So what's at play here? Well, as the storm comes in, well, first of all, the next few days, why does it strengthen? Well, there's no wind shear. This is the jet stream. Notice the jet stream that circulates the Earth. You see that there? Goes around the hemisphere. You see all the arrows up here? That's the jet stream. That's right here. Yeah, the jet stream here. There's a little jet streak here too that connects, but there's no wind shear down here. Remember, wind is what rips hurricanes apart, so that's part of why it's going to rapidly intensify. But one interesting nugget here, this happened with Ian, it's happened with other hurricanes, is this storm will find itself upon landfall in proximity of a jet streak. What that is, think about this like going to a river in the summer. You just go to a river, sit on the riverbed, and you're watching the leaves go down, right? Just imagine with me. Watching the leaves go down the river, twigs, whatever. Then all of a sudden you see they're called eddies. They're like little spinny things. Like the water is spinning like this. The whole river is flowing, and then within that you've got a really fast, same kind of idea that within the jet stream, within these, where the river is, this is the river, you've got really fast, locally faster pockets, like a moving walkway in the airport, where it's moving faster. And that is located right here. Tuesday night and Wednesday. Now, when we talk about jet streaks in meteorology, we'll get to the impacts right after this. You divide it in 4 quadrants, and this is called the entrance region here. Entrance, the air comes in and it goes whoosh. That's like the moving walkway, and it goes whoosh and exits out the other side. These are the exit regions. This is the entrance region. And even though the satellite will start to decay a little bit, the wind will start to expand. The wind field, how big the wind field is as it comes to landfall. Now, one tricky part is when a hurricane, see right here, when it's in proximity to that right entrance region right here, that helps to ventilate the storm. High up in the atmosphere, it pulls the air away. Think about it like a vacuum cleaner, over a cup of coffee, all the steam. It's pulling all the air away from the top. It's pulling that air away, and more air rises. So when the hurricane is here, there's a possibility it doesn't weaken at all. We saw that with Ian. There's been other examples where we thought the hurricane would weaken at landfall and it didn't. It stayed at intensity. That's possible. One thing that's also possible is that it doesn't weaken much, but it weakens some. But the reason why it may not is because it's in this proximity of, as it comes into the coast of Florida, it's getting pulled by the jet stream up here, and that venting up aloft will help keep the intensity up to an unknown amount of time. The models disagree on where this jet streak will be in relation to this. Some of the guidance has it up here, some of it's over here. So there's a scenario of which where this doesn't weaken at all to landfall. There's a scenario of which where it weakens maybe even to a high-end Cat 2. Again, that will be based on where this is up here in relation to that. We don't know that yet. But the point is, when you have a hurricane in proximity to this, interacting with the jet stream, interesting and odd and funky things can happen at the 11th hour. So that's one thing to watch. All right, let me move along here. Spaghetti modeling. Here's the spaghetti models with Milton. And notice they're in good agreement coming towards the peninsula, but there still is a big spread. And let me show you this here. Notice each line is where the center may go. There's one down closer to Fort Myers. There's a lot clustered near Tampa. There's one here up by Citrus County. North of the center of a hurricane is where the big rain and the big flooding is. South of the center is where the big tornado threat is. The winds are strong on either side and around the center, but generally speaking, it's wet and flooding north, tornadoes, and generally wind on the east side of the track. So all of these lines, just pick this one as an example. Over here would be the tornadoes and the big wind. On this side would be the big flooding, and you could do the same thing for this line. So that's why the track is important in terms of what we see. Let me show you the models here. We're running out of time because I'm rambling, so I want to get you this, because I do want to get to your question. So here's the GFS and the Euro. So tomorrow, Tuesday, great days to finish preps. There's not much other than some showers and downpours going on. We're talking about Wednesday, things go downhill. The worst weather, midday Wednesday to midday Thursday. So this has shifted back a bit. But here's 6 o'clock Wednesday, the GFS model in red, the Euro in yellow. And notice the GFS is a very big outlier. It has insisted on a northerly track, taking the eye to about Ocala. That's possible. I quite frankly don't buy it that far north, but the GFS has insisted for 2 days now, every single run it's done, this is going up there. So we'll see. The European model in yellow brings the eye right into Longboat Key, Anna Maria Island, Tampa Bay, Sarasota. So you see big differences in the location. This is 8 o'clock Wednesday. Landfall up here, landfall down here. Could it be somewhere in the middle? Sure. But we still have not resolved where it's going to go, but landfall. But regardless, it will move to the northeast across the state. Then by 6 a.m. Thursday, the Euro's got the eye over Melbourne, really more like Titusville. And the GFS model has the eye off the coast of St. John's and Duval County in northeast Florida. So big differences there. Let me show you our Fox models now. That's next. About the rain. Sure, Josh. Yes, let's extend to 745. That would be great. So let me show you our Fox models now. So this is the wind gusts. I'm going to show you two. We have two versions of we run a computer model here in-house. It's done pretty good with hurricanes. And I'm going to show you, we have two versions of it. One that's a very high resolution model and one that's a lower resolution model but has some tweaks on it about hurricanes and some other things. Here's the high res one. So these are the wind gusts. Here's Wednesday. I just want you to look at this more about the landfall location. So here's the eye south of Bradenton on our high resolution Fox model. Notice in this case, here comes the eye. This is 9 o'clock Wednesday evening. Here's the eye. Remember, the winds are rotating like this around the eye. So Tampa Bay, in this case, gets spared from a big surge. And the big surge is, again, along and south of the eye, but especially that closest part to the southern eye wall. So offshore flow in Tampa Bay, onshore flow Venice, and significant catastrophic surge south of Bradenton. And watch as this plays forward. This is 10 o'clock, and now notice what the eye does here. It puts the eye over Osceola County at 3 in the morning Thursday. And I'll show you forward. Notice how the winds it's interesting what the models are showing, where the winds in Orlando and Central Florida might actually be strongest on the backside. Because as the hurricane, remember that chart I showed you with the jet stream, remember? As the hurricane starts to feel and interact with that way up over the Carolinas, once the winds come around this way, the winds in overland over Orlando, the I-4 corridor, may probably be strongest. It's early, may change, on the backside. So late Wednesday night and Thursday. Sometimes in a hurricane, you get the strongest winds on this side. They're all unique. But because of that interaction with the jet stream, this is an interesting signal I'm seeing where the winds actually increase on the backside. And I'll show you these gusts at 5 in the morning. Notice there's the center in the eye. Remember, the winds right now would be like this. You just follow these isobars. These are strong hurricane force north winds. And look, you see right over Altamont Springs, you see 77, Orlando 72, DeLand 57, Walt Disney World 60. But you can see there's this pocket of very strong wind that develops on the west side. You see Winter Park 74. So these are hurricane force winds that come across the I-4 corridor, Sanford, Lake Mary, then we'll make it to the beaches. So that's one wrinkle I'm seeing, is the potential for the winds to uptick on the backside. And notice this is a concern too. We haven't talked about this, but there probably will be storm surge warnings for Flagler, Volusia counties. So here's 7 a.m. Thursday, and as it feels the jet stream influence and starts to feel the Gulf Stream, it could re-strengthen briefly, even as a more hybridy low over here, like a non-tropical thing. But the winds will probably, look how in the hurricane they're strongest right here. There's the center. Look at these colors. The winds are strongest here and not here. And these winds will be plowing into Daytona Beach, Wilbur by the Sea, Palm Coast. And I'll query some of those so you can see. Look up here by Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach. Look at some of these winds here. 90, Ormond Beach, 80. So you're talking about 80 to 90 mile an hour winds, New Smyrna Beach, up to 100 mile an hour gusts. On the backside, this model only goes out that far, but you can see right here by Ponce Inlet, you see 93, Daytona Beach 83, and this is 10 a.m. Thursday. So hopefully that gives you an idea there. Let me show you our tropical Fox model. And we'll do a couple more scenarios, the hour by hour, and then we'll bring in Laurel coming up in a few minutes. Laurel Blanchard's here too. She's been getting ready for the 10 o'clock news tonight. You'll see her there. But as we go forward, notice what this one does. The eye is a lot further north. The eye goes over Tampa Bay. That's going to put the significant catastrophic surge, Longboat Key, Bradenton, these areas, as you have that fetch of wind maximized right there. So that's why I say, I know all of you want specifics for my town, my county, my this, my that, and I get it. It's just too early still. So I'm going to stress patience, calm. We're going to get through this. We're going to be fine. There's probably going to be mass evacuations in many populated areas of Manatee County and Sarasota County, Pinellas, everywhere on these areas. There probably will be hundreds of thousands in evacuation zones as soon as tomorrow, depending on where the eye looks. But I can't tell you at this moment, Deltona is X wind, X amount of rain. Tomorrow at this time, we should be able to know that. But all of Central Florida, all of the I-4 corridor, hurricane force winds, tornadoes, and flooding is a huge concern. But look what our Fox model, the tropical version, does. The eye, look how it does. I'm going to draw this for you here. This is also an interesting wrinkle I'm seeing in the data tonight, is that it kind of hooks a right. This prolongs the impact over Orlando. Notice how the eye comes in. This is midnight Thursday. There's the eye. Then look, whoop, look at that. Whoop, look at that right turn. Just uncannily follows I-4. Look at that. The hurricane says, I want to go to the beach line to the Space Coast. It follows the interstate, then right. That would be an interesting wrinkle to the forecast. The GFS is also showing that, so that's interesting. Then you see exiting, and then also that big pocket of wind up here on the backside, even into midday Thursday. So Thursday morning and midday is still potential hurricane impact now in Central Florida. So this, again, midday Wednesday, midday Thursday, I think is the time frame of greatest impacts. I'll show you the GFS model quickly, then I'll show you the Euro, just for your perspective. I don't want to get you too bogged down in the models this and the models that, but again, notice the GFS, this would be your catastrophic, not rivaled since the 1848 Tampa hurricane, the 1921 hurricane. I don't want to use the term worst case scenario, but in terms of the worst or the most storm surge for Tampa Bay, the hurricane would have to do this or pass just north of Tampa, what the GFS is showing, where then you would get double or more the surge of Helene, gosh help us, into the parts of those areas. And I don't want to imagine what that would look like. So we're going to hope that that doesn't happen. Again, there's still a long way to go, but that's how you would get that surge into those areas, as if the center goes here. You get just significant, massive, major, pick the adjective, surge into Tampa Bay. This is 4 o'clock Wednesday, and you see the GFS is much further north. And see again that big push of wind on the backside Thursday. GFS has been very consistently north. I think it's too far north. Here's the Euro from this afternoon. Euro brings the eye right over Sarasota and Bradenton. So again, also a big surge down to Fort Myers and Naples, even though they'd be far from the center. Very prolonged fetch of onshore flow, and a big surge even far from the eye in that case. But the greatest surge would be tucked right in that southern eye wall, where it would make it very far in. And then notice the Euro brings the eye off the Space Coast. But look what the Euro does also. This is 8 a.m. Thursday. Hopefully you're seeing a trend here. We get that pickup of wind on the backside from this way. That probably would be when we get our strongest wind damage, power outages, of which there's going to be a ton around Orlando, the I-4 corridor, and everywhere. As you see that backside fetch of wind from the northeast to the southwest. And this is the center of the hurricane there. This is 8 a.m. Thursday. But before I show you the Fox model, again, I want to stress, I've showed you a lot of models, and I've said the word model 10,000 times. Model this, model that. Notice those models I showed you, right? Remember, our Fox model is like this. There's one that's like that. The GFS is like up here. The Euro is like right here. The German model is over like this. So again, there is still a large real estate here of scenarios. If you're asking for my personal opinion, and again, this is just an educated guess off looking at data, I actually really like, meteorology-wise, forecasting-wise, where they've got it now. I think it's probably the most likely path is something paralleling I-4, ending up in Brevard County or Volusia County. I don't know if it's going to go as far south as Fort Myers. I just have a hard time seeing that because of that jet stream aloft. At some point, this is going to get picked up north. Even if it ended up down here, it's going to get, it wants to go north at some point, and it will go north. It's just a matter of when does it make that more northerly component to its heading as we go forward. All right, rain, I'll show you quickly. This is self-explanatory. Again, along and north of the track, this is one of our models. Please don't get locked in on the totals. You don't have to get worked up. I'm going to just show you what the model says. Again, it's a model. But notice 12, 24, with how much rain we've had and hurricane force winds, those combined, how saturated the ground is, there's going to be a ton of power outages, potentially prolonged outages, and lots of wind damage all around Orlando, Titusville, Cocoa Beach, the I-4 corridor. But notice that rain is most along and north of the center. There's still rain south of the center, but that swath of double-digit rain potential, not everywhere we'll see double-digit rain, but the potential, the likelihood of double-digit rain totals will be found on this north side of the track. This is where you'll get, I know this is a big range, but 6 to 20 inches of rain, 8 to 25 inches of rain. North of the track. So that's why I say, you might be wondering, Noah, just tell me this count and this county and that. It's hard because we don't know the center yet. This is what's most likely. But this time tomorrow, we'll be able to rock and roll and tell you, hopefully, this city, this wind, this rain, this timing. But again, the hurricane window here is midday Wednesday to midday Thursday now. This is rare. These are all the hurricanes to hit Florida during October. Notice there's hardly any that formed over here or tracked like this. This is a very rare storm in the trajectory it is taking. Almost all came out of the Caribbean and hooked like this, hooked like that. This makes the surge and everything more difficult because it's going to hit perpendicular. It's got this very long fetch to hit. Notice there's only one or two in here. One of these is this one right here. See this right here? That's the hurricane that hit in 1921. And then there's another hurricane that's not on here from 1848. So this has happened before, a major hurricane hitting the Tampa area from the southwest, but you're talking 2 times before in history, 3 in 175 years or 150 years of record keeping. So it's not alarm or hype or anything to say, or drama. It's a rare path and a rare trajectory to go due east and then northeast, having been a hurricane out over here in October. That hardly ever happens. It's normally in the Caribbean and getting hooked into the peninsula like that. So let me show you the Fox model. I'll take some questions, and I want to get Laurel in here because she's got more on the early call for the county by county stuff and some other preparedness tips. But if you're wondering about getting ready, I'll walk you through Monday. Here's noon. Notice there's that other low we talked about that skirts across the southern part of the peninsula. So tomorrow, some showers, some storms. It doesn't rain all day. It's a good day to get gas. I would get groceries. I'd get food, medication, care for your pets, the elderly, your friends, your family, your relatives, your friends in the office, your coworkers, your employees if you own a business. Tomorrow and Tuesday are days to get prepared, have a plan, not be scared, not be worried, be informed and not alarmed. That's our goal here, is to inform you and not alarm you. This is the same exact thing I repeated covering tornado outbreaks up in Paducah, Kentucky for 6 years. Is informed and not alarmed. You don't need to be alarmed. If you be informed, you're good. If you're not informed, then I would be a little scared. So stay informed. Follow us here. We'll have updates all the time. But notice here, this is the radar with our Fox model. Notice, you might be wondering, when do the outer bands come in? Wednesday morning. Notice the outer bands here, they start to come in Wednesday morning. But the real nasty outer bands probably don't come in till like midday Wednesday. Notice here's 12:30 Wednesday. Remember, you draw this in quadrants, relative to the storm's no, I did that incorrectly. Hang on. Relative to the storm's motion. People talk about the dirty side, this, that, and the other. It's relative to the storm's motion. So if the storm's tracking, drop the mouse. If the storm is tracking like this, northeast, right? These are the rear quadrants, these are the right quadrants. So it's relative to the storm's motion. The dirty side, right, and then the clean side, as sometimes people say. But this one, again, all of the rain on the west side of the track. The tornadoes will be along on that right side, but that's what you can visualize in your head as we go forward. Get that off of there. All right. So notice here's 5:30 Wednesday. You should be probably by midday Wednesday in your place where you're going to ride out the storm. Then we talk about hurricane conditions coming in Wednesday night. Our Fox model at least has a landfall about 8 p.m. Wednesday. Sometime Wednesday evening or night, I'd say, which is in line with the Hurricane Center forecast. Then here you go. The strongest winds would be Wednesday night in Orlando in the northern eye wall up here. That's where the strongest winds would be. And again, remember on the back side. And there can be tornadoes in all these bands up here too. Up here, there can be tornadoes up here. Just generally, you find the tornadoes more in like these cells out over here, out ahead and on the east side. So even as soon as midday Wednesday, we'll have to be watching for tornadoes in these big thunderstorms pushing like this east of the center as it comes in. Sorry, my friend is calling. So there you go, and then it crosses, and that's that. All right, so I promised you questions. Let me take a look now. Laurel, you ready up there?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm gonna look at some of your questions, and I want to bring in Laurel, make sure we get Laurel on here. So if you have questions, please put them in now. I want to try to answer them. Do you have the feed too, Laurel?
Yes, I do. I've been trying to answer a few questions, but a lot of folks have been wanting to kind of figure out what the most conditions are going to be like within their neck of the woods, and we will do a full breakdown right here. So Noah went through the entire timeline of this storm, and with that, this is the main timeline that you have to follow. Monday, make sure you are prepared for this. Go to the grocery store, make sure you have plenty of supplies. Tuesday is when you're going to want to wrap that up, do any of the last minute storm prep that you possibly can. And then really you want to make sure you are going to be staying well informed, especially on Wednesday. So as Noah said, going to start to see those outer bands start to push in Wednesday morning, really going to start to see those conditions deteriorate as we head through your Wednesday, and then Thursday, even in the late hours of Wednesday into Thursday morning. This is when we're expecting Milton to make landfall. So that's really the timing of everything and how you should continue to prepare. But for now, best thing you can do is protect your home, secure any outdoor furniture, patio furniture. I have a lot of that, and I have already brought in that inside. So with that, also make sure you are preparing your sandbags, especially if you live close to a body of water, and clean your gutters. That's also a big one that I forget to do for sure. With that, also, I just did this today. Make sure you have plenty of food, especially non-perishable food, because as Noah was saying, we could definitely see power outages for quite a while, and widespread power outages at that. So make sure your emergency kit is topped off. Have plenty of water, first aid kit, battery, non-perishable food, and not just for you, make sure you have plenty for your whole family as well. So with that, making sure you have not only plenty of supplies for yourself, any medications that you need to get re-prescribed, make sure you have plenty of those. I have a dog, and I just bought her an extra bag of dog food today. So again, just make sure you have your entire bases covered, not only just for you, but for your family, your pets, the whole 9 yards. And when we're actually in that storm coverage, you want to stay informed. Make sure you either have your notifications on, especially on your phone. I know it can get a little bit crazy with that, but I'll give you the prime times of when you should actually really try to stay informed, especially when we're getting almost bombarded with a lot of weather information. Other good thing is to have a plan, and we'll break down what more of that plan could be, especially when we talk about flooding in just a few minutes. So with that, again, make sure you are staying informed with us here at Fox 35. Make sure you're following myself, meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, Noah Bergren, TJ Springer, Jess Dobson, as well as Brooks Gardner, which they'll be taking over in the morning. So again, these are just some of the items that you should have in your emergency kit or have in emergency supplies. Make sure you have plenty of cash, medications we covered, any gas. That's what I did today. Those gas stations were crazy earlier on today. Make sure your car is fueled up in case you do need to go somewhere else. Pet food we already covered, phone charger. Best to honestly make sure all of your devices are charged before this storm even hits. So now let's actually get to when you're going to be getting some of that primetime information, because even here we're going to be on air basically all day through Tuesday, Wednesday, and even into Thursday as well. So we'll be here for sure, but here are some times that you should definitely tune in for. So path updates for Milton are going to be at 5 a.m., 11 a.m., 5 p.m., and 11 p.m. So that's going to be those little adjustments in the track of what we're going to keep focus on. Position is also going to come out as well. That's going to be at 2 a.m., 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. So with that, that's actually just going to be the stats of what the current storm is doing right now. State of emergency, again, part of that weather information that you are going to get quite a bit over the next couple of days. 51 counties across Florida are under that state of emergency right now, and you can see it is all across the peninsula. So, and that also includes all of our DMA as well. So just make sure you are staying weather aware, because this is going to get rough very quick. So this is what everyone has been waiting for. Lots of the comments have been really coming in of what is it going to be like in my hometown when Milton is going to strike. So let's start off with areas across Dixie, Gilchrist, Levy, Alachua counties. So starting there, these areas going to see the worst of the weather Wednesday p.m., Thursday a.m. So that's what we're going to be seeing, the worst of those conditions. Winds, tropical storm strength, so we're talking over 50-mile-per-hour gusts going to be expected across these counties right here. Other threats, rain very likely across these areas, as well as a possible tornado, especially as those outer bands are sweeping through the region. Now let's take a further look. This is areas across Marion, Lake, Sumter counties. I know a lot of folks said Silver Springs. I want to know what it's going to be like there. Worst of the weather Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, hurricane force winds. So with that, we're going to be expecting 75-mile-per-hour winds, and then that's not even accounting for the gusts either. Heavy rainfall is possible across these areas, as well as tornadoes. So again, these areas include Ocala, the Villages, Claremont, areas across Marion, Lake, and Sumter counties. So those are those areas of what they could expect. Taking it a little bit further, this is Orlando, Disney, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, parts of areas of Orange, Osceola, and Brevard counties. So areas across also Melbourne, Cocoa Beach, and up towards Titusville as well, going to be within these areas. Worst of the weather rolling in Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, so where we're expecting this to make landfall. Winds going to be hurricane force strength, 75-mile-per-hour winds at minimum. So we're really going to be seeing those winds picking up, especially as we take a look at these counties right here. Heavy rainfall, tornadoes. And again, this is a little bit generalized because we don't exactly know where that track is, just to give you some sort of idea of what we could be expecting for those threats. Also with that, we'll take in Flagler, Volusia, Seminole counties, so areas Lake Mary, Sanford, Deltona, DeLand, Edgewater, Daytona. I know a lot of people were saying what's it going to be like in Daytona with that. And also Palm Coast. So with areas, again, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning is that sweet spot right there. Winds, hurricane force winds, 75-mile-per-hour plus those gusts. Heavy rainfall, tornadoes. So that's going to be the biggest area with that. And finally, bringing it home, Polk County right here. So Lakeland, Bartow, Fort Meade, we're going to be seeing once again those 75-mile-per-hour hurricane strength winds, heavy rainfall, possibility of tornadoes as Milton is making landfall. Biggest thing that I think is really going to be one of the main threats, especially when we find out when the eye is actually going to line up. Flooding is going to be huge, especially when it comes to storm surge, because as quickly as the storm is going to be moving through, it's going to hit as a Category 3, affect the west coast, move over the peninsula, and then affect the east coast because it's still going to be holding Category 1 strength. So before this storm even moves in, part of your storm preparedness should be, are you in a floodplain? And we'll talk about that in a second. Check insurance, clear any storm drains, and also charge your electronic devices. So evacuation areas right now is currently for Fort Myers. So if you're in the Fort Myers area, there isn't a mandatory evacuation there for your area right now. So I would highly suggest leaving, going either further inland or going much in a safer direction of the storm. Currently, we are seeing areas all over Florida putting through this flood watch at the moment. Expect a lot of rain in a short amount of time, especially when Milton makes landfall and continues to make its way over the peninsula. And now let's actually talk flood evacuation zones, because we've gotten a lot of questions with that. Where you can find it, if you actually look up Florida flood evacuation zones in Google, it should come right up. But with this, we're already starting to see areas of where we could see that next potential for seeing that possibility of evacuation. So we're going to close in. So real quick, red means that you are in flood zone A. You are going to be the most vulnerable, and you are most likely to become evacuated first. Next one is that orange zone, so this is zone B and C. Next areas to be evacuated if you're in those colors right there. And then third is going to be the potential hurricane evacuation zone. You're like that third on the list of where you can see that possibility for some evacuations starting to happen. So let's start off with the Brevard County coastline right here, all the way up towards Titusville, and then all the way down into Grant-Valcaria right there. Areas all along the inlet. So we're talking Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach. If you're in these areas, be definitely weather aware on this one. Follow your local emergency management agency. One thing that I do want to stress absolutely completely, each individual county has their own flood evacuation system. So it's not, one county is not going to be the same as the other county. So you really want to make sure you're following the right accounts, getting the right information from the right people, and that's really going to help you. Make sure you are getting the latest and the most accurate weather information. So Brevard County Emergency Management Services should be having, again, this area, especially along the inlets, areas especially Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach, Melbourne areas. You very much need to watch this and make sure you are keeping an eye on any evacuation notices. Further up the coast, areas is, again, lots of folks who were saying, I'm from Daytona, what can I expect? Areas, especially all along the Volusia County borders as well, we're really going to be seeing that same potential. Again, Each individual county is different, so make sure you follow the Volusia County Emergency Management Agencies. And with that, we're also going to be seeing that Zone A and that Zone B. Up towards Flagler, this is the last one right here. This is also the potential for evacuation. So anywhere along Flagler County beaches, make sure you are, again, following Flagler County Emergency Management Services to make sure you are getting the information with that. Noah?
Great job, Laurel. Thank you very much. And I think you did a really good job of showing what people need to do now. And those zones graphic, I think, is really going to come in handy as we go forward. So we've got a hard time. We're going to come out here. We're going to end this at about 7:49 or 7:48. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Just a couple of things to put a bow tie on this for you. Number one, school closures are in the Fox 35 app. You should put the Fox 35 News app and the weather app on your phone. We'll send push alerts. We'll send updates constantly. The Fox Local app, if you have a smart TV, look in the App Store or search in the TV, Fox Local. It's the name of the app. You can watch all of our programming and the news and the weather free. You don't even have to pay for it. It's free. It's great. You can see all of our stuff for free in the TV app. It's great. And I say that because it really is. It's super simple. It's clean. The interface is simple to use. So if you have a smart TV and you want to watch our storm coverage, follow along. Put the Fox Local app on your smart TV. UCF, Polk County, Brevard have made decisions to close some days of the week. The full list will be in the app, on our socials, and on the website. Wanted to pass that along. So a couple of other things. This time tomorrow, we should know much more about the specific impacts. Look, for Central Florida, all of Central Florida, hurricane force gusts probably going to occur. There'll be some significant rain. There could be a surge on our East Coast Thursday morning, Flagler, Volusia County. South of where the eye is on the West Coast, could be over 10 feet of storm surge, which would be significant. Again, for the Tampa area, it's all about the track. Could they get the worst surge, the highest surge, I should say? They could. Could they miss it all? They could. So we don't know yet, based on the track. And I assume, by the way, tomorrow morning, if not tonight at the later advisory, probably tomorrow morning, we'll start to get hurricane watches issued for all of most of Central Florida based on the track, maybe tropical storm watches in some counties. But if you're wondering when we're going to get alerts sent out, storm surge watches, hurricane watches, if not later tonight, tomorrow morning or midday, 100%. So look for that on your news app, the weather app, and we'll have them here covered for you with that. So we've got a newscast coming up at 10 o'clock tonight. Meteorologist Lowell Blanchard will have you covered with the latest with that. The new advisory and cone will come out just before 11 p.m. So maybe about 10:30 or so, we'll have the new forecast cone to show you if there's any changes. The website, school closures are in the app. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email any of us, and make sure you start off your morning tomorrow. I believe the whole crew, Brooks, Jessica, Amy, and everybody else, the whole morning team will be here all through the morning tomorrow to get you squared away with the new updates, and I'm sure we'll start to get some evacuations in from the West Coast to report on more school closures. But the worst weather in Central Florida as of right now, midday Wednesday to midday Thursday. We appreciate you watching. We'll get you through this storm. We'll have updates and coverage and streaming coverage when the storm hits on Wednesday into Thursday morning and midday. We will get you through this. It's going to be a big storm, but certainly you need to take it seriously. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you coming up tonight at 10.